Are the computers coming for us writers? Should we panic? Is technology ever going to make our life easier? I've been waiting for that one to happen for a long time. I get more and more tech, but I think my life really hasn't gotten much simpler than it ever was. As a writing teacher, I'm kind of interested in this because I'm wondering if this is going to make my job superfluous. I mean, if we get great technology, are you going to need to know how to write an essay? Let's see. We all know that technology is coming. It's coming fast. It's walking towards us. But will technology do us good? Will it help us? Or will it do its best to wipe us out? These are things that have been in my mind a lot lately because technology continues its ever-increasing pace, coming faster and faster. And our government, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to begin studying possible rules to regulate AI. Seems a bit after the fact to me, but whatever. Anyway, companies certainly aren't waiting on the government rules. Google confirms that chatbot AI is coming to Google Search. And chatbots can already be used to diagnose medical conditions, which doesn't seem that safe to me, but what do I know? We all know that AI has potential to affect our employment. And our boyfriend? I really have to read that article. Anyway, there are deeper questions as well. Can you program an AI to replace a loved one who's passed on? Philosophers would love that one. They probably love this one. Did this AI chatbot encourage a man to commit suicide? I think legal scholars would probably also be interested in this one, and religious scholars are, of course, also interested in AI. Anyway, AI is a particular interest to me because I teach writing classes, and somewhere around September of 2022, people started wondering about AI and writing classes. I even had my mom at Christmas ask me about AI and how worried was I. I hadn't really developed any thoughts, so I went and did some research. As well as dealing with ChatGPT, I also found websites like thegoodai.com. The Good AI seems to be a paper mill site. They've existed before, usually using third world labor, where they get people to write papers and then they try to sell them to you. But now they're using computers, AI, to write papers. How good are they? Well, I didn't want to come to judgments, but luckily, the Good AI had a sample of papers available, so I downloaded a bunch of them and analyzed one, including this one, Should AI Essay Writing Be Normalized? Gotta give them credit for being right on the nose there. So, I'm not gonna go through it bit by bit, but because I've already gone through it myself and I can bring you to some key points. First off, if this and the other AI essays are anything to go by, then AI has an issue. Papers are about arguments. You make a claim and support it using evidence. AIs didn't have a particularly easy time making arguments. They tended to be prone to summarizing and pointing out stuff on both sides of the aisle. They didn't want to make a stance. And that's kind of what academic writing is about. They couldn't reach decision. They could pull in information from a lot of places, but decisions, interpretation, not their strong point. Another key thing that I noticed in looking at this AI written essay was its focus could be off. Another advantage of using AI in essay writing is that it can help improve the quality of student work. The technology used in those programs analyzes grammar, spelling, punctuation, and sentence structure to ensure that essays are well written and coherent. This feature helps students who struggle with language barriers or have difficulty expressing themselves through written communication. There's one problem. This isn't describing AI essay writing. This is describing Grammarly and other grammar checkers. A third problem I found in these AI essays is a bit more subtle. In the one about can AIs be used for essay writing, there were 3 sources cited. So I was curious. The first one was an article from The Guardian. At least that's what the references listing says, because when I went to The Guardian, it didn't exist. I didn't just follow the link, I also searched for it and it still didn't come up. The second source was something from the Journal of Information Security and Applications. Now, I work at a research institution, and I have access to research databases, so I looked up the Journal of Information Security and Applications, pages 1 through 11 of 46.1. And volume 46, number 1, there's a completely different article on those pages. The third source was Paper Techie, Should We Normalize AI Essay Writing, Pros and Cons. This one kind of jumped out at me because it was dated 2020, and AI essay writing wasn't all that developed or widespread in 2020. So I searched for Paper Techie. I could not find a blog called Paper Techie. I could find an Etsy store. I could find a Twitter feed, but I couldn't find a blog. So that's 3 sources that were just made up. Is it just me, though? Is it just this particular example where that was using made-up sources? Well, when you expand your reach, you find out that it's generally a problem with AI essay writing in that it does make up stuff. There was a news story not too long ago where a federal judge had to impose fines on lawyers because the lawyers were using ChatGPT to do their legal research, and ChatGPT just made stuff up. A quote, "The chatbot, which generates essay-like answers to prompts from users, suggested several cases involving aviation mishaps that Schwartz hadn't been able to find through usual methods used at his law firm. Several of those cases weren't real, misidentified judges, or involved airlines that didn't exist. The judge said one of the fake decisions generated by the chatbot have some traits that are superficially consistent with actual judicial decisions, but he said other portions contained gibberish and were nonsensical. It made up cases when it couldn't find anything good." That ain't great. And it turns out that this is a fairly common AI problem because they even have language for it. It is called AI hallucination. If an AI can't come up with a good answer, they would prefer to give you a bad, incorrect, or fictitious answer. And it can cause some hilarity, like it labeling this picture dogs. Okay. And researchers can't say if removing AI hallucinations is ever going to happen. It's not just hallucinations that are a problem. As of July 2023, ChatGPT went from correctly answering a simple math problem 98% of the time to only answering it correctly 2% of the time. It's getting less accurate. An interesting one I also ran across was a gentleman who took his picture, loaded it into an AI image modification program, and asked it to make him look like a convict. And it turned him into a person of color. Yeah. And I found this while doing research on Rana Wang, an MIT grad student who loaded her profile picture into an AI graphic editing program and asked it to make her look more professional, and it turned her from Asian to white. The comments to this one were, both on her Twitter feed and on a Reddit thread and other places, all fairly interesting. Dhruv Bhagavan, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, probably not though, said, "This is why we have to be wary of handling important tasks such as in teaching, hiring, medicine, etc. over to AI tools. Unbiased training data is rarely ever used and may not even exist. In other words, these AIs are trained on data sets that contain an awful lot of racism, sexism, other isms in them. The interesting one about this particular case, making this Asian student white, was that this is the guy who founded the company that did it. On the Reddit thread about this that I ran across, this comment jumped out at me. This is like the time during the pandemic where my university had used an AI proctor to look for cheating. The thing flagged me and all other Asian students the entire time because our eyes were, quote, supposedly looking elsewhere from the screen. And then there's this.
Can you believe this person is claiming AI is racist? It is. Ableist too. Prove it. Okay, let's ask it to generate an autistic person. So, and let's do it again. And once more. And again. And then, and how about, are we starting to see a pattern? You seem to think you're proving something. Here's more. And more. And some more. And how about this? And another one. More. 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 Do you see any diversity? Say race, gender, age? Oh. Plus, most were skinny and, weirdly enough, a disproportionate abundance of red hair. How many did you do until you gave up after more than 100? And the closer you look, you start to notice other trends. Like, were any of them smiling? It was all moody, melancholy, depressing. I noticed you used lifelike, photoreal, and photojournalism in your prompts. When I didn't include those, I'd get puzzle pieces in everything. Some of these are cartoons, others are whatever this is. Ugh. So AI is racist, sexist, ageist, and not only ableist, but uses harmful puzzle imagery from hate groups like Autism Speaks. Why? The AI we have today is not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence doesn't exist yet. This is just machine learning. Now, here's a bit of an oversimplification, but this machine learning focuses on patterns. It looks for the majority of similarities and then excludes outliers. So if the data that it's accessing is mostly young white boys in this case, it will amplify that bias. So are you saying that in order for AI to be an effective tool, you have to be smarter than the AI? Scary thought, huh? For someone who is looking to confirm their biases or is unaware of their subconscious bias, it becomes a tool of the oppressor. I think plagiarism software, machine learning, AI, has a lot of potential to do good, especially for the disabled population, but we must be aware of its limitations and pitfalls. And probably some government regulation is in order, at the very least, to stop these companies from profiteering off of artists' work without compensating those artists. In the 148 images I generated, Midjourney depicted an autistic person as being female presenting twice, as older than 30, 5 times, as white 100% of the time, and 0 were smiling.
AI has a history of weird things about race, but it's not just AI. In 2010, a blogger posted an interesting bit about her camera, which had a program in it which was supposed to automatically detect whether someone blinked so you could take another picture. But it identified every single Asian person as blinking in every single picture. Yeah, the history of photography has a real racial problem. And there's a great article on SLR Lounge about it that you really should hunt down and read. In case you, like me, wondered how in the heck can photography be racist? It's pretty fascinating, but we're already kind of losing our focus. So let's get back to it. AI is something that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon, but will it get better? Will we be able to fix these problems? I don't know. It's kind of really hard to judge at this point because AI is so brand new. In terms of technological history, AI has been a dream up until really, really recently, so we're seeing the baby steps. Maybe AI will do this stuff perfectly in 5 years. Me, I'm kind of doubtful. I have a little bit of skeptic in me, but we'll see. What do you think? Do you think it'll work? So, am I saying all technology is evil? I'd never say that. The technology's listening. I don't want it to hear. But if you're going to use AI, Chat GPT, whatever, you should be aware that it's not going to do the job for you. You've still got to write the essays. You have to double check stuff. You have to know the kind of mistakes these programs are going to make, and they are going to make mistakes. Nothing is perfect. I mean, I'm long past trusting even the spell checker on my writing software. So ChatGPT is much more complex, and that means there can be many more difficulties. You still got to learn how to write. Sorry. See you in the next video, y'all.